and welcome to Our Neutral Voices. Our Neutral Voices, your future is now. I am your host, Reverend Christopher Riley, and today I have in the studio with me none other than Minister Nygel Simms.
Pastor Chris, I'm so excited to be here with you this morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're so glad that you're here today, and we're so glad that you're here in the city, because you're not a Fort Wayne native.
I am not. I am a country boy from Waycross, Georgia, about 90 miles north of Jacksonville, Florida. So, yep, I've been here since, actually, I moved here in 2013. And some people always joke with me, what made you come from Georgia all the way up to Indiana? And I'm still getting acclimated to the cold weather and everything, but I cannot find a good cheese grits here in Fort Wayne. So hopefully that's my new venture right there. I'm going to bring grits to Fort Wayne.
I think I might have a solution for you. So we'll talk more about that offline.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think I might have.
You tell I'm hungry this morning.
Oh, absolutely. And I know I have you up early. I've got you up early, and that's out of your comfort zone. But I appreciate you stepping out of the comfort zone and coming in and being with us early this morning.
Amen.
Amen. So, Nygel, you have been blessed to do many great things in our city.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about the great work that was done and that you're still involved with in the Youth for Christ ministry.
Yeah, so when I moved here to Fort Wayne in 2013, didn't plan on staying here. One of my good friends was in college at IUPUI, and the goal was to help him transition back here to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And he had just different life things going on. So I was talking to his parents, and the goal was just to stay here just a little while to get him transitioned here back home here in Fort Wayne. But long story short, I was actually going through something in life where I was just looking. Oftentimes in life, we're presented with the question of, what do you want to do in life? And I had amazing opportunities, Pastor Chris, and some of the backstory. Me being in school there in Florida and working at the McDonald's and having an opportunity. While I was going to school, I had an opportunity to work for President Obama's reelection campaign,
right,
and all those things. So, but at the end of the day, doing those amazing things that I was presented the opportunity to do, I was faced with the question, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? So coming here to Fort Wayne, I found an amazing community.
Yes.
Amazing friends, and it started out of a church called First Assembly of God. They really just ran into some amazing people, and they really taught me a lot about living this Christian life, which they began to show me that it's really possible to be a real Christian. So through all of that, I began to work with their youth ministries and young adult ministries. I met you through Chi Alpha. Remember I was with Chi Alpha?
Absolutely.
At IPFW at the time.
Yes.
Then I began to run into this guy named Chip Clark all the time. Chip Clark.
Yes.
And I kept hearing about this guy named Chip Clark, and I spoke with Chip, and he said, Nygel, why don't you start volunteering at our City Life Center? Many people know it as Prime Time. It's associated with Youth for Christ. I said, Chip, I don't want to work with kids. But God had a different plan, because everywhere I went, people just kept asking me, why don't you work more with the young people here, especially in the southeast side of town? But long story short, I began to talk to you about going back to school, and I took classes at Ivy Tech.
Absolutely.
And I needed hours for my practicum. I tried to volunteer at Rescue Mission. Things didn't turn around very fast like I needed to. So Chip called me, and I began to volunteer there at the City Life Center. And long story short, from there, I became the City Life Director there at City Life. And I would tell you this, Pastor Chris, that I thought I was going to make an impact in the lives of those young people, but honest to God, they made an impact in my life that I'm forever grateful for.
It's amazing how God orders our steps.
Yeah.
And how God prepares us for what is next. So the Youth for Christ Prime Time experience prepared you to launch a nonprofit. Talk to us about National Young Leaders Institute.
Yeah, I learned a great deal at City Life. We have a holistic approach where we talk with the young people and teach them about financial literacy, civic literacy, spiritual moral literacy, all these literacies,
Right.
because we understand that the gospel of Jesus Christ just doesn't meet your spiritual need,
Yes.
but it meets your physical, your basic needs too. So every time you read the Bible, you see that Jesus actually healed people and
Yes, he
provided
did.
and met their needs. So I wanted to take that even a step further of how to reach young people where they are. So, for example, we're hearing this language around esports. So
Yes.
all these schools are picking up esports, which is basically video games. It's video games, but now it's a sport. So let's take that for instance. Research says 90% of young people between the ages of 12 and 19 play video games. 90%. 75% of them own video game consoles in their household. So why not use this as a tool, as a doorway for the gospel? But additionally, video games is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Billions of dollars are gained through video games. So why not teach our young people, especially our young people of color, about the trades and the education and all the experience that they need to enter this industry that they spend a lot of their time in anyway, since they spend so much
Right.
time. Use this as a tool
Exactly.
for them to make a living. And also, there's a stigma around video games. We understand that there's violence and different things like that video game present. But why not take this industry over and change the stigma and use it for something positive? And we can teach our young people that they can be a difference maker in this industry. So that's what we were doing through esports camp. We just piloted one last year, which was so wonderful. We had great partners through Sweetwater Sound and Brotherhood Mutual and Sabatories and other partners. So we also have a boxing camp coming up, Pastor Chris. We've seen an uptick in violence and youth violence across the nation. And you and I spoke about the youth violence that we've seen here in Fort Wayne.
Right.
The research showed in February that the average age of homicides in this year was the age of 16 years old. And that should not be the norm. I went to Southside High School last month, and we were talking about this. And one of my concerns was that they adopted the mindset as if this is normal.
Wow.
So this boxing camp, we know as athletes, when you're an athlete, you have to have discipline.
That's
You
right.
step in the ring as a boxer, you have to have discipline. You can't get in your emotions or anything like that. You got to think. You have to, you don't react to everything, but there's timing, there's flow. You really have to train to be a professional athlete. So we know a disciplined mind typically doesn't get into violence.
That's right.
You don't have time for that. So we want to use boxing as a tool to teach kids about discipline, character, consistency, and focus. And we have some amazing, amazing retired athletes. I won't name drop right now. In a few weeks here, we're able to, once they sign the dotted line, we can begin to announce some major speakers that we have coming to our boxing camp. So I can keep going on and on.
Well, and then in addition to the esports camp, the boxing camp, you also have not just a STEM camp, but a STEAM camp.
Yes, sir. STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And we have partnered with, this will be our third year partnering with Huntington University. Our kids, they need to be exposed to these career opportunities.
That's it.
And what I love about STEAM is they're exposed to industry leaders that look like them.
Right.
It's a diverse group of folks. But then too, I love we partner with Sweetwater Sound and Chuck Shorak. He's the founder of Sweetwater. One young man had a question. He raised his hand. He said, Mr. Shorak, he said, how can I be successful like you?
Wow.
And Chuck looked at the young man, and he had an answer that I would never forget. He looked at him and said, I can't give you the blueprint of how to be Chuck Shorak. He said, I didn't come up with the blueprint of how to be Chuck Shorak. He said, I had to be obedient to what God called me to. I didn't plan all this. But basically we're saying the blueprint of success is just be obedient to what God is calling you, who God is calling you to be.
That's
who
it.
God is calling you to be. Just not what he's calling you to do, but who he's calling you to be. Because you have to be processed before you can step into your what. He looks at your character, who you are, before he can create you an opportunity. God makes good investments, and he makes good investments with people with great character. So I love that Chuck pointed that out. But yeah, STEAM Camp is an amazing camp that exposes young people to career opportunities, and an amazing leaders here in Fort Wayne.
And offline, you were telling me a story about a young lady who had a very pivotal moment
Yeah.
in the STEAM camp that truly blessed you. Talk to our listening audience about
Yeah, I would
that.
never forget that. Our camps are national, so we have young people come across all across the country involved in our camp. So we had a young lady from Seattle, Washington, and I'll never forget when she said this. She walked in her dorm and said, we were dropping off her luggage and everything, and she said, "This is what it's going to be like when I go to college."
Wow.
So for us to vision for our young people until they can vision for themselves is so important. For her to be able to adopt that vision, we want all of our students to be able to say that if they choose to, higher education is possible for them.
Absolutely. And I like what you said that we vision for our young people so that they can vision for themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
Because the word says where there's no vision, the
mm,
people will perish.
yeah.
And that
You
we're to
preach it
write the vision
and make it plain.
and make it plain.
Mm,
So, and you're definitely writing the vision and making it plain. If there's somebody out there in podcast land
yeah.
that has a child, a young person that they're mentoring, that they would like to get involved in one of these camps, how would they go about doing so?
Yeah. And before I open that door really quick, I want to say this because if you're a listener to us right now, and you have a young person in your life, I want to share a quick story with you. I'll never forget where when I was young, my mom, she had a come to Jesus moment with me. I was trying to open up this jar. I think it was like a jar of candy. I was like 6 years old, and I couldn't open this jar. And me and my mom, when I was younger, like that was my best friend. My mom was my
Yes.
best friend. They called me her little shadow. So when I was trying to open this jar, I ran up to her, Pastor Chris, and I said, "I can't open this jar."
Mm.
And she gave me a little slap on the face. And I thought it was a huge insult because I'm like, I'm her best friend. Like I'm her favorite child. And she just slapped me. But she looked at me and said, "Who taught you that word? Who taught you that
Right.
word?" I said, "Mom, what word?" She said, "That word can't. I never taught you that word. I always taught you the scripture that you can do all things through Christ that gives you strength." And I will never forget that moment because at that moment I began to realize that my mom truly believed in me.
Yes.
And just didn't believe in me, but she believed in the God that she served,
Right.
that it wasn't just cliche.
Exactly.
And so if you're listening to me and you have a young person in your life, I want to encourage you to continue to believe in them through
Yes.
your actions and through your words. Just don't keep it on the inside, but let them know with your words and your action that you believe in them. And because that's the type of volunteers we need in our community. I don't want a volunteer that that doesn't can't speak positive and live really teach our young people great things. Because yes, National Young Leaders Institute, we need volunteers, and you can visit our website nationalyoungleadersinstitute.com to be a volunteer. But also the Boys and Girls Club, they need
Yes.
volunteers. The City Life Center needs volunteers. Alive Community Outreach need volunteers. The Renaissance YMCA need volunteers. A 10 Point Coalition needs volunteers. You could look it up in your neighborhood, but make sure you are involved because God has a plan for your life, and He has put so much in you, and you have to give it back to the community. Like, give it back. Don't just sit on the talent that God's given you, but pour back into your community.
God has used you mightily to bend young people toward their destiny.
Mm.
And just to think, you didn't want to work with kids, but God ordered your steps, and here you are.
Yeah.
In the midst of bending a young person toward their destiny, you've also had to help young people navigate through tragedy.
Yeah.
Talk about those experiences and how that has fueled additional work in the city.
Yes. Yeah. That's tragedy, especially losing loved ones to homicides and violence. It's it's very hard to navigate families through it. Actually, I can't even say we navigate families through it, but we journey with them in it.
Yes.
And it's God that really brings them through. We were just talking offline to how Regina King, she gave a good definition of grief.
Yes.
And she said, grief is love searching for its home.
Hmm.
And oftentimes when you love someone and you lose them, they're no longer here on earth, that love is looking for its home.
Right.
And to let them know that it's okay when trauma greets you in the morning. Love is looking for its home. But it's so important for us to be in that journey with them, that let them know that you're not in this by yourself.
That's right.
So through this, we have partnered. As I journey with families, I begin to see the need. Saw families trying to create GoFundMe's, and it creates conflict amongst families and different things like that. And they don't have time to even try to raise them money because they're still in shock that they lost their loved one.
Absolutely.
So community partners, along with I partnered with Fort Wayne United, and we created something called United Response. I was part of that committee that created United Response. And what that United Response is, it's organizations and churches gathering together. Excuse me, losing my voice this morning. These organizations are coming together to help meet the financial need of these grieving families, so they can apply for a stipend through the city of Fort Wayne, and they can it's from the ages of infants all the way to the age of 26, and we help them provide that for those funeral costs.
Wow. It's an excellent ministry.
Yes.
Well, Nygel, guess what?
What's that?
We are close to being out of time. And in the 2 minutes we have left, I want you to share what's next for Nygel Simms. And then in addition to what's next for Nygel, share the website again and how someone could get in contact with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you are available to speak to groups, to be a mentor, to be an encourager, to work on a project. So how would one get in touch with you?
Yeah, so what's next for Nygel Simms? That's a great question. I really believe I keep stumbling into purpose.
Yes.
So I just try my best. I always tell folks my measurement for success isn't, numeric or anything like that, but my measurement for success is my obedience to God. And in this season and in my life, I know He has called me to equip leaders to serve the marginalized and to serve our young people. So whatever vein that God leads me to do that, I want to continue to equip leaders, especially leaders on a macro scale that
Yes.
impact policies and have influence and financial influence, so that we can serve the marginalized and invest in our young people well. People want to contact me. They can visit NygelSimms.com or email me at Nygel@NygelSimms.com. More than welcome to engage in conversations or speak to the young people or their leadership teams. You can find me on social media too. Just type in Nygel Simms, and I'm on every platform.
Nygel, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us today. We'll definitely have to have you back when Bishop Crystal is in the house.
I love her so
you'll
much. Yeah.
Yes, she's a jewel and a gem.
She is.
We missed her today, so we'll have to have you back so you'll get the full experience.
I would love that.
And you can talk more about what's going on with the National Young Leaders Institute and just what's new with Nygel Simms. Once again, to everyone out there in our listening audience, your future is now. An investment in your future today is a profitable gain tomorrow. So again, make a wise investment, make smart choices. Have a great day and be blessed.